Hi everybody, so I just posted this sample planner in our weekly announcement, so you do have access for it now if you want a sample model to kind of follow when you're filling out your exploratory research graphic organizer. So in this video, I just wanted to point out a couple things and show you a couple resources. The first thing that I wanted to point out was just that if you're looking through this, you may notice that I changed a couple terms in here, including the introductory sentences. I kind of moved those around to make sense for the sources I was working with, and you're not only welcome, but encouraged to do that. So for instance, the first source that I chose was actually from Credo, and it was in an encyclopedia. So instead of an author, I have an editor, so I changed this word from author to editor. And then I also, in the introductory sentence, I didn't mention the editor. I changed the sentence around to work with the information that I had. And you're more than welcome and, in fact, encouraged to do that. Another place where I did that was here because this was a background article. I took away the point about the overall view of the author, because in this case there wasn't really an overall view, the point that was being put forward. It was more just a background sort of timeline of the artificial intelligence industry. So it didn't make a lot of sense to leave that in there. So I took it out and just included the main points that I would include in my summary. One thing that I do want to point out up here in the introduction is the first perspective these are listed here. Think back, in fact, for this whole introduction, think back to what you posted about why your topic was a debatable topic over on the discussion board, because that's what it's asking you, not necessarily the perspectives in the readings themselves. So if you're like me, you have a Credo article that you're doing as your first source to kind of learn about the topic, that's fine. You don't need to be putting the first perspective of necessarily the sources you chose, just the first perspectives that people might have on the topic that shows you it's debatable. So for instance, if you were doing something like cyberbullying, you might say the first perspective is that parents need to be responsible for taking care of their children in terms of cyberbullying and their online use. Whereas another perspective might be that it's on teachers and institutions and schools to help curb that behavior. So that's what I'm looking for in the first versus the second perspective. So this information here and that you'll need to include to write the introductory sentence is something that you can find in the sources themselves. So I just wanted to kind of show you where I pulled this information from in Credo, if you're not as familiar with that as EBSCO. So let me just pull up. So this is Credo. This is my article. Here, what I did, because it doesn't actually list the editor anywhere, I clicked on the citation and looked at what it said there. I made sure I was an APA, and then I could see, okay, this is the way that you format editors when you're doing an APA and text citation. So now I know that that's the editor. This is the name of the publication. This is the main source where it appeared. This is the URL link that I have to it. And this citation will help you kind of figure out some of that information if you are having trouble locating it to fill that out. This is a citation. You are more than welcome to use the citations here, but you do want to double check them. So this is a reference citation because at the bottom of your planner, it does ask you for a reference citation. And you'll notice that mine looks a little bit different than the one that's listed here. And that is because honestly, the databases are usually a good place to start, but I always double check my sources on CiteFast. So for this one, to make this one, I pulled up the information from the citation here, and then I plugged it into the APA option. Let me just update this, that's my other source, into the APA option that specifically is for encyclopedia/dictionary. So that's what I want y'all choosing if you used Credo. Choose the option. You can enter the title, but I recommend just doing it manually and then filling out the information. You can switch to the editor option here. And I found this online. I'm going to put in the publication year. I'm going to put in the name of the article. That's what entry title means, the name of the encyclopedia. And the publisher, that's where I put in Gale. So you may have noticed back here where it says Gale, that's going to be the name of the larger publisher of the encyclopedia. The volume I don't think there was a volume, but there was an edition, and I pulled that. And then here, it specifically says, that's this question that you want to answer, but it specifically says use a DOI if available. If there was one, you would see it, and leave it blank if it's found in a database. So do not include the database URL. So that is one difference, and SiteFast is better at this than Credo is, because Credo put its own URL in there, but really if you look at the final product, you don't need that. In this case, SiteFast is correct over Credo. Let's see. To get the information for my second source, sorry about that. So to get the sources, or to get the information for my second source, which is actually one that had a bit more of an opinion. I got this on EBSCOhost, so this information is available on EBSCO. So when I'm looking at EBSCO, you can see there's typically this sort of like information page, but there's also an option. If you click on the double quotation, that'll give you a citation. You just have to make sure it's not in Brazilian national standards. It's actually set to APA. And this isn't a terrible APA citation, but again, it's pulling information just from the information that's been entered. So there's a couple things in this that are incorrect, including the fact that it should be the author's first name should just be their initial, and there are some issues with the sentence capitalization. One of the things that's really nice about with journal articles, because we can tell this is from the International Journal of Modern Education Studies, with these journal articles, it's really helpful in SiteFast, because what you can do is you can just switch, we're dealing with a journal article, so we're going to choose our type of source, but you can put the title in and it will pull the information, and there it is. Now, one thing I will warn you about is that it's a form of AI. SiteFast is a form of AI, so it's only as smart as the information that's been inputted, and for some reason, when this information was inputted, they felt like shouting their last names at us. That's not how that should look. So if you do copy and paste something like this, as I did, you do want to go back and fix things like capitalization errors. If that ever happens with authors' last names or the article title, you want to make sure that you're changing it to follow the correct formatting. And I can just show you what that looks like. So you can see that I made the change there, and then that's my citation that I pasted in alphabetical order. The A comes before the D. And that's basically how I completed this assignment. Those are just some practical pieces of advice about the how to do things. And it's up to you to determine the what. What are you going to include in these different, as responses to these different questions as you complete your planner?